Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Welcome to Four Brewers. My name is John Holzer, and as always, I am joined by
Matt Becker.
And Jason Harris.
Oh, yeah, Jason Harris.
And Greg Nagel.
And we're back with our second episode with Chris Walowski from Trustworthy Brewing Company.
Hello.
How you doing, Chris?
What's going on? Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
So we talked briefly about Trustworthy on episode 1 before we got derailed by IKEA talk. Hot IKEA talk.
Hot takes on IKEA.
Just like going to an IKEA, it's easy to get lost.
Little do you know, there's a shortcut through every store to get you from the start to the finish in one doorway.
Yeah, it's like you got to go down the one pipe in the second level, right?
I like how we got lost again in IKEA.
Yeah.
Welcome to IKEA podcast.
In the second level, if you take the platform all the way up and you jump on top of the bricks, then you've got those pipes that take you to anywhere in IKEA you need to go, right?
It's like a parkour stunt.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Off. Anyway, we were talking about Trustworthy, and when you first opened, you guys were called Verdugo West.
Yes.
And so tell us why Trustworthy is now Trustworthy.
So it's
I think it plays in with the name of this beer, right?
Yeah, so we're drinking Trustworthy IPA. It is our flagship beer. It's our top seller by far. When I wanted to make this beer, when I wanted to make an IPA, I just kind of wanted to make my perfect drinking IPA. Was that a good face that you just made? Yeah,
it's a good face.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Wow. I wanted something a little bit lower in ABV, so it's 6.8%. I love Simcoe. I love Mosaic. And there's just a pinch of rye in this beer. And I just wanted to make a go-to IPA for me.
Literally a pinch? I mean, or like a sack.
There's a sack.
Okay.
A sack
yeah.
Honestly, this
the brewer's
smells
pinch.
so Pliny-esque. Like it.
A sack. A sack. The brewer's pinch.
Yeah, the brewer's pinch.
I'll pinch you in the sack.
It's like a baker's dozen. It's a brewer's pinch. I'm gonna throw a brewer's pinch of whiskey in there.
I've been holding on to the Trustworthy IPA name in my mind for 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, how has no one come up with this name yet?
Yeah.
And I finally had my own brewery, and I'm like, all right, I got our flagship beer, Trustworthy IPA, and I kind of wanted to make a beer that went with the name. I think it's just a well-rounded West Coast, easy drinking IPA.
This smells so good.
Yeah,
thank you.
Right?
As far as West Coast style IPAs, got on the nose, it's like there's some malt in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can smell some definitely. I mean, there's a shitload of hops, but there is some malt in the background that you can tell it's kind of sweet, and it's kind of like a hoppy birthday cake to me.
It's that you said Mosaic is one of the ones in here, right? Because I'm getting that sweet candy nose that I get from Mosaic.
It's like a tangerine,
which is the good Mosaic. You're not getting into the oniony, garlicky kind of thing that they can do.
It's like the Scout law could be used for so many cool beer names. What is it? Trustworthy, loyal.
Why are you giving away my
friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, clean, brave, and reverent? Is that what it is?
Not being able to remember all of those.
I'm an Eagle Scout and I can't.
High five.
Nice.
That's where the name came from.
No, I legit stalled in promotion because I couldn't memorize those.
Oh, really?
Oh.
It was a thing.
Oh. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. There you go.
Wow.
2. You say 2 when you take your fingers down.
Yeah.
You're done.
Trustworthy.
So as far as the name change goes, we really wanted to the reason why we chose Verdugo West is we're located on West Verdugo Avenue. So we kind of wanted to pay homage to where we were. And the idea of kind of educating people about where we were and kind of where we're at, we really kind of like that narrative. But it kind of never really panned out like we wanted to. People could never remember our name. They could never pronounce it. They could never spell it. If I had a nickel for every time I answered the phone to, hi, is this Vertigo?
Yeah.
Vertigo West Brewing Company? And then anytime we try and Google it, it takes you straight to WebMD, and you're like, no, it's not what I wanted. And I would literally go into bars and restaurants and do tastings, and I'm like, oh, thanks for serving our beer. Oh, we've never had Verdugo West on. I'm like, you're literally pouring my beer right now. I'm like, they're like, what beers? I'm like, the Trustworthy IPA. I'm like, oh, you're the Trustworthy IPA guys? Yeah, we love that beer. It sells so well. And I'm like, after, hearing that a couple times, and kind of get the wheels turning. And then, with everything being so, being important to trademark, you can't actually trademark a geographic location.
Correct.
And so we ran into issues with trying to trademark the name. And so we wanted to have a brand that was trademarkable. And so that was one of the other reasons why we switched to Trustworthy Brewing is it's trademarked now. And then the other thing is the owners are opening, and I'm part of it too. I mean, I'm not an owner, I'm just an employee, but I'm helping. We're opening a brew pub on the Strip in Las Vegas.
Really? Dope.
So early summer is the plan for that. So, and part of the deal with that is you have to have a trademarkable name. They won't let you open a restaurant on the Strip that's not trademarkable. And so when they kind of signed the lease and everything like that, then, we had to switch to something that we could trademark.
So when you're opening it, you can get Greg to write the copy. Trustworthy. Trustworthy.
We're just going to play that over the speakers nonstop.
Every time you serve a pint, you hit a Trustworthy.
Wow. So there was a handful of people like really upset about it, and but for the most part, like it's been way more positive. Now I go into bars and they're like, "Oh yeah, we've had your beer before." I'm like, "No, you haven't," but I like that you think that you have. So yeah,
that's be nice.
There's a Worthy Brewing, isn't there?
Yeah, in Oregon? Bend, Oregon.
Yeah.
The owner used to. The owner of that place used to swing by the Smog City tap room. Ironically,
interesting.
Nice guy. Yeah, he's he's an asbestos lawyer, and it's like his place is in like San Pedro, so he's like kind of in
like
and out.
He's the one running those commercials
Yeah.
about me or a
Mesothelioma.
loved one having mesothelioma.
Yeah. So, and I think he was actually the owner of Indie Hops as well. There was that small independent hop farm that had like Meridian. But I don't know if they're still around.
That makes sense because I actually went to Worthy Brewing and they had like little hop farm out front.
Yeah, 'cause that was his thing. He's like, I was tired of making all these awesome hops and like selling them to other brewers, and other brewers are making all this money off the hops that I was making. So I just decided to make my own brewery.
There you go.
So
yeah, this beer's great, man.
Cool, thank you.
I like it. It has a nice body to it for 6.8. It's pretty substantial.
Yeah, like I said,
on the nose, like super. It's like a fresh bag of hops. It's got that like super sparkly aroma.
It
got
totally
luster.
has that Pliny note. That's the first thing I thought of. Not to, I mean, I think it's kind of.
it's a good beer. I mean,
Pliny-
that's a
cool
compliment.
beer to compare it to.
Pliny had Mosaic.
I just thought this smells like Pliny. This is amazing, and Pliny has this thing where it's not just like a certain like fruity or piney or grassy or dank thing. It's all of these different hop aromas with this underlying like malty kind of aroma. I don't know. You can't smell malts, but kind of like that cake kind of thing I always talk about with like hazy IPAs. That's what I get from this, and it's like you can smell it and taste it as you're smelling it, kind of thing. And that's how I experience Pliny whenever I drink it, and I totally get that on the nose from this. This smells fantastic.
And I think it has like a nice like balanced bitterness to it. Like it definitely comes across, but kind of finishes nice and clean. And my big thing is like having beer that's really drinkable. Like I see no point in the bottle share hero, but and I want to make beer that you can drink a whole pint of and have another one and another one. And
how many different IPAs do you have on the board?
Right now I think we have 3. We only have 12 taps. So we have 3 IPAs. We have 2 lagers. We have an oatmeal stout. We have the barrel aged imperial stout. We have 2 kettle sours. And then we threw the barley wine on tap yesterday. I think that pretty much covers it. So, and then we have a full-time beer engine. So I, do the whole cast thing.
Baby.
And we have 2 nitro taps. Like our nitro style sells well, but like it makes no sense to me because I think nitro hoppy beer like is terrible. But we sell gangbusters of it in our tap room. It's the weirdest
nitro IPA. I fucking hate.
Same here.
It ruins the beer so badly. Like,
but like if I don't have the Trustworthy on nitro, like people like literally walk in and they go. And they just walk out.
Well, it's like that story you told about Ritual in when Main Street was brewing there in that triple they had on tap.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. People are like, they don't have the triple anymore? And so they just walk out. And you're like, what? Like,
dude, there's other beer.
Yeah.
You realize.
So I have a question. This is Simcoe Mosaic, right?
Yep. A little bit of Centennial.
Okay. This is a very broad question. How do you get it to like be so impacting on the hop aroma, like on the nose? It's something that I feel like as a home brewer I've never nailed, and I don't know why. And I feel like some, bigger craft breweries, they'll make an IPA. They could probably take your recipe and still not nail that aroma jumping out of the glass? Like, is there some weird special technique, or is it just like,
So
what do you do?
So first of all, you guys have like a general conception of like, okay, pounds per barrel of hops.
Right.
So how many pounds of hops per barrel do you think this beer is?
It's probably lower than I would think.
Just because I led off with that. So this beer is only 3.5 pounds per barrel.
It's not just because of that.
I was going to say 4.
It's 3.5 pounds. Oh, that's higher than I thought you'd say.
So but that's total. Like it's a 2 pound per barrel dry hop. But like, some of these breweries that are doing IPAs are like 4, 5, 6 pounds per barrel of dry hop. And I don't even think they get the level of aroma that.
Well, the one we did with like Brew Kaipa, I mean, it smelled really good.
Yeah.
And what did we do? 3? Was it 3 pounds?
How big was it? It was 10-barrel system, right?
Yeah.
So we had 60 pounds of hops in there. So
I can't.
That's 6 pounds per barrel.
Yeah.
And it was
like 55 or 60 pounds. So yeah, it'd be like 5 or 6 pounds.
And you got
a barrel.
1 keg out of it.
But it didn't have that. It didn't have that same impact that this beer has.
No,
and I don't know what you're doing.
How fresh is this?
Ancient Chinese secret.
So here's the other fun part. I think this is not the freshest batch. I think it's about 3 weeks old. So
Yeah. I would have guessed like less than a week.
yeah, it's about 3-4 weeks old. It just stems from, I think, being as gentle with the beer as possible. And
I mean,
I think hop choice is important. I think sometimes you put too many hops in, or like the wrong ratios, and it like you don't get that impactfulness, because I don't know if like stuff like clashes and like cancels out. Like I've been thinking about it. And
like,
then
what's like your schedule though for like dry hopping? Like, and then like listen to the
I haven't
Brewing
been candid with
Network.
anybody about how I brew this beer, but we'll talk about it now.
Okay.
So the way we do this beer is we run through primary ferment, and then as soon as primary's done, I cap the tank. And this is I actually use dried yeast. This is USO5. That's all I use in my brewery. USO5. It's the best decision I've ever made.
Interesting.
Brewing professionally, switching to USO5.
Like you just put big bricks of yeast in there?
Yeah, and I get like 6-8 generations out of it. Like it's so predictable. It's so easy to use. It's super forgiving. And especially brewery doesn't. We're finally like the last 6-8 months. I've been doing like tons of batches back to back to back. But like early on, we're trying to work with liquid cultures. Like oftentimes, like that first gen just kind of sucks.
Yep.
But then when you're a small brewery, you're only brewing like once every other week. You're like,
You're always brewing with shitty yeast.
yeah, because you have to store it, and then like it doesn't, this is kind of cone to cone. Like as soon as beer's done fermenting, like on to the next batch it goes.
That's some happy yeast right there.
Yeah, so it's USO5. So as soon as the beer's done fermenting, cap the tank, crop the yeast over like a day or two, and then I try and build up as little pressure as possible. Like try and keep it at like 1-2 psi, and I'll just keep on blowing down the tank. I found that the USO5 tends to flock out really nice under a little bit of CO2 pressure. Like it just crashes out. And then it's a 2 pound per barrel dry hop. And I actually split the dry hop in 2. And so I uncap the tank and I do the first dry hop, and I dry hop with the tank uncapped, which is I think most professional brewers will be like, that's ridiculous. Like you want to cap the tank to keep all that aroma in there,
right.
and I dry hop with the tank uncapped. And then about 2, 3, 4 days later, it kind of depends on the schedule, I'll do the second edition of dry hop. And then I'll let it sit open for another 3-4 days, and then I cap, and the next day I cold crash for a couple days, and then move on to the bright tank.
So it's just pretty straightforward. You're just dry hopping it.
And
you're
capping, you're just putting CO2 on top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Just so listeners know.
yeah. So when you're home brewing, you can't really cap a glass
Sure you
carboy.
You can pour some CO2 in there.
Yeah, but you can't build up any pressure.
That's
you
true,
know.
that's
So
Unless you're fermenting in a corny.
and so the reason why I started dry hopping open
or conical.
is because the whole dry hop creep thing. Like when at previous breweries I worked at, like we dry hop cap, and all of a sudden the next day comes around, and you're like, whoa, this beer's at 10 psi, like it's already like halfway carved.
Yeah.
And then and that's because the whole dry hop creep. And so I started capping, leaving my tank uncapped to kind of work with the dry hop creep. Because what I found out was, or just anecdotal, like, okay, I was tasting the beer off the fermenter, capped and carved, and the aroma was great. And then you transfer the bright tank, and you're like, where did all this aroma go? Like, it just disappeared. And so
Did it leave with the carbonation that broke out of solution when you're transferring to the bright tank?
Exactly. So I think that's my theory is now since I leave it uncapped, and then so I split the dry hop because that first dry hop I'll dry hop with a little bit of like Centennial stuff. I'm not like that's not like super aromatic, more background, and that just blows off all the CO2 that's left in solution.
That's a great idea. And
then when you do the second dry hop, I dry hop with the more focused, super aromatic hops. And that way, since there's all the CO2 is just broken out of solution, all those volatile aromas stay in. And then when I cap and transfer, since there's so little CO2 dissolved in, when I actually do the transfer, even with the little bit of agitation you get, since there's no CO2 being knocked out of solution, all that aroma stays in. So, and I do a really slow kind of carb. It takes me like 48 hours to carb the beer through the carb stone, and I think that helps as well. So
that's something that I always skimp on as a home brewer too. I always tend to just put it at 30 psi, roll the keg around, and then let it sit for an hour. I am so like,
dude, I'm like a
attention
7
span
days.
for
I throw it
carbing.
on and then I forget about it, and I'm like, oh shit, I have homebrew.
I'm
like,
so excited. Like you taste the sample while you're kegging, and you're like, I just want to drink this right now, and I can because science. And look, it's magically carbonated, but it's not. You know,
not
it's
the
not
best.
the best kind of carbonation, and maybe that's where I'm falling down. Because as a home brewer, you're dry hopping and you're just loosely covering the top of the carboy with like foil or something, you know. And so it's kind of the same concept. You're not locking it off so pressure can build up. So yeah, all in all though, this is a fantastic beer. And the bitterness and everything, like you said, I think it's very well balanced, very drinkable. Like you could knock back a few of these and
yeah, we're gonna start canning this beer in. We're doing our first canning run January 17th. So
nice.
I'm super excited for that. So yeah, I mean that's how I do it. It kind of took me like 6-8 months to kind of dial in this process and kind of figure it out. And I've been in the last few months, I've really kind of just settled in on this process, and it seems to be working out really well for me. So yeah,
it's a great beer, man.
Honestly, not just sucking up because you're a guest, but like it would be a regular 6-pack buy for me.
Totally,
for sure.
Yeah.
It would go in the top of my IPA rotation immediately.
It's fantastic.
Perfect.
I wonder if there's something else that you can put in the fermenter instead of like the Centennial, like that first run hop, like some sort of like marbles or throw something in that
just
so
knocks
you're not
out?
like exactly to like get that nucleation off.
Beechwood chips.
Beechwood chips, Beechwood agent. Just curious.
I don't know. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just find whatever you can just throw in a log.
I'll just throw some Mentos
Or
in
those
there.
things, those people who have those protein shakes and they have those little balls inside of their thing.
yeah.
Like just throw a bunch of those in, and
It sounds like it's easier just to put hops in there and you
Yeah,
get the
those
benefit of
hops
dry
in.
hop
That's
too.
true.
Yeah.
So
but if he was brewing a beer that maybe
don't overthink it, Greg.
okay,
Don't overthink it.
gotcha.
No, Greg's got a great business idea here.
Trying to think more efficient.
With his fucking brewing marbles.
Brewing marbles. Just put a pinch of sack. Man.
OC Beer presents brewing marbles.
And pinch
I'll
in your
endorse
sacks.
it hard. Endorsed by Trustworthy Brewing Company. Where's the Puma roar? Come on, let's get that in there.
Car screeching.
Well, so I was honestly really nervous. I've about you guys trying this beer.
I'm sure
It's
you were.
great. It's really good.
I'm glad you guys really like it.
Yeah.
this is like my heart and soul beer that in our flagship beer.
Man, even that just I often like put my nose up to a can hole. And I don't know, it smells so good.
Only Greg can make it sound gross.
It's the pausing in between. It's the timing.
That's good can hole.
You give good can hole, Chris.
I try.
Just
Your can hole smells scrumptious.
So
stick it in my can hole.
speaking of Greg, Greg brought some beers
Yes!
for us to enjoy. The first one of which is
The whole point.
from Upright, right?
Yeah, Upright Brewing, Fantasia. I think they're out of Oregon, right?
They are out of Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon.
They're in a fucking basement under a convenience store.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I get to this brewery? This is weird.
They're like, oh yeah, you got to go down the elevator. I had to ask that at the convenience store where the fuck it was.
That's funny because they're called Upright. They would think the brewery would be up and right, but no, it's down and to the left. Yeah.
That was pretty clever.
Thanks.
The last time
I'll be here all week.
The last time I went in there, I ran into friend of the show Tasting Niche, just randomly, who I didn't even know lived in that city at the time.
She fell off the map too.
I don't know what she's up to.
It sucks.
Yeah. I unsubbed from her YouTube because there's no content.
Yeah.
Why do you unsub?
'Cause I don't know. I
not
don't want
gonna
to
say
sift through.
anything anyway.
I don't want to sift through 150
Oh, yeah.
people that don't produce anything.
So this first beer is Fantasia from Upright. This is an American Wild Ale, 5.75%.
Peach.
And it's made with let's see. According to Untapped, peaches from Baird Family Orchards.
Which Baird, they're good for peaches.
Baird.
This is the one that was like kind of put them on the map, right? That everyone was like all for a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this is the beer that when I was beer shopping, the dudes were like, "Oh shit." Have that. And I was like, all right, I'll take one of those.
What were they like?
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. I was going to get Fontaflora beers. They're like, no, don't get those beers. Get the Uprights. They're so much better.
Pretty good.
It says Fantasia is brewed each summer in casks full of fresh peaches, marrying themes from the Pajottenland and our own backyard. Well, thanks for not putting Marionberries in it, guys.
The whole point of my purchase is, I think we do a lot of canned beers on the show, and I think there's a perception of like bottled beers are not as great, and there's some really good bottled beers out there that I think, I'm a huge Saison fan, and there's not too many canned Saisons, thankfully.
There should be.
We did a barrel-aged Saison with Brett, and I put it in a 60-ounce can. I sold it for $8.
Did they explode?
No, but it
Implode?
took me, people just didn't want to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Stays on.
So, yeah. And then when you put it in a can, they're just like, I'm not paying $8 for a can.
Yeah, that's a tough sell. I mean, this 12 ounce. Well, this other one, the Saison Vert that we're gonna drink next, is $7.50, $7.50, and this I think was like $12.50 for a 12 ounce.
I don't know. You
or
sent me the
500 ml.
receipt. I guess I could look at it.
Yeah,
This
But, I mean,
smells
Like, Greg, which beers are you
Yeah, it
bringing?
smells good.
It
it's
has a
6%
huge-
alcohol,
Nice Brett, some good peach.
Yeah, huge fruit character on the nose.
and the oak is really nice. It reminds me a lot of a Barrel Works beer, like on the nose.
Yeah.
That oak character is very bright and very prominent.
I think the flesh of the peach is what I'm smelling.
Yeah,
as far as
smells
the peach
fuzzy.
aspect goes.
Honestly, it smells juicy, which is
juicy.
a weird thing. But it
You
smells
start
like
salivating as soon as you smell it.
It smells like a can of sliced peaches in syrup, kind of.
Oh, yeah,
it's like
totally.
biting
what I
into a unripened peach. It's got a little bit sour.
it is more than a little bit sour.
Yeah,
Pretty sour.
Oh, it's not, yeah,
It's not fucking attacking my mouth, but
Yeah.
it's more sour than I expected.
I think it works well though with the flavor. I think it's the appropriate amount of.
I just want maybe a little more
tartness.
carbed, maybe, but
Yeah,
that's just me, though.
Seems a little-
I like high carbed.
I really
So do
love
I.
peach and sour beer. I think
Yeah.
the two flavors sort of work really well together.
I think on a beer like this that's kind of sweet, can almost border on syrupy, having the carbonation there helps it kind of
Lift it up a little bit.
Yeah, shake it up a little, not be flabby, I guess. It brightens it up a little.
yeah.
Yeah.
This could definitely use more carb because it is flabby. Definitely, like it kind of lingers. I think, which I don't like.
Yeah, I think the little bit of more carb would kind of like scrub your palate a little bit more. But I mean, overall, I think
It's a
really
great
good beer.
flavor. It reminds me a lot of
Peaches are hard to work with too. So
the peach beer that Highland Park does. Is it Lazy Susan?
Oh, yeah, Lazy Susan.
It
Yep.
reminds me a lot of that beer.
Are they difficult to work with just because they're like a soft fruit and they get?
you have to like use
Lots of
so
flies.
much to
Oh,
get
really?
like a good character,
Okay.
and then like since you have to use so much and they kind of like stay fluffed up, like it's hard to get a good yield too. So that's always been a challenge.
Are you using purees or are you using fresh peach
I've done both.
or
Even
blend?
so, like I've done both. I think the other thing, the main reason for the yield is you just have to use so much more. Like we did a sour beer with raspberries, and I split it to 2 barrels, and I had to use like double the amount of apricot puree than the raspberry just to get enough apricot character. And then since you're adding so much puree, after it settles, like, I got like 30% less beer. Yeah.
Yikes.
So I was expecting and then the beer was it got a little overcarb because I was like, okay, the raspberry one, I got like this much yield. So we're going to add this much priming sugar to the apricot one. I was like,
yeah. That whole nightmare.
Yeah. And then I was racking it out of the barrel and I was like, uh-oh. We're done already? That's not good.
Yeah.
Well, I can't take the prime sugar out now.
It's in there.
So, well, luckily, it just all went straight to kegs, so I could just
There you go.
degas the kegs a little bit. So,
Just get one of those presses and just squeeze it all out.
little French press. Oh, there you go. There's your next
French press of
marketing.
fruit,
But I think was it
A barrel bladder where you just put this device in and then you fill it with air and it pushes all the shit out.
Who does Funk Factory Gooseria? Levi Funk, right? He was around. So he has a fruit barrel methodology. It's like a barrel, but it's on the head, and he puts like a mash filter underneath, and then has you drill a hole in the bottom of the head with like a tri-clamp and like a valve, and then you fruit in these like upright barrels with like a screen, and apparently you can get a much better yield that way. Yeah, and yield, and then and people do the whole punch down thing. They open the top and mix in all the fruit. So
Yeah, I mean, you can almost do like a wine press, right? Like you do with like grapes. Like
you probably get a lot
push
of
it down.
oxidation.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you got to worry about.
Oh shit!
And then the fruit flies come and then fucking
Ruin everything.
all the beer geeks are like, fuck this.
That's the number one thing I hear is, man, all those fruit flies. That's not the brewery for me.
Do you remember like the early days of going to the brewery, like fucking just getting
brewery?
attacked? The brewery in Placentia.
Oh, yeah.
The
Getting
brewery.
attacked by fruit flies. They're like fucking fruit flies, dude. Patrick, can you get some fucking...
They're a nightmare. Like, I don't even want to begin to explain to you the issues with fruit flies.
I'm sure they're just like, I love beer. Beer's
I spend
good.
so much money on like fruit fly traps every month. It's ridiculous.
I think they like sugar and fruit.
Yeah.
Whether-
They're also known as vinegar flies. Because they like the vinegar as well. Like most fruit fly traps smell like
Vinegar.
Like vinegar.
Yeah, at home, what I do, because every now and then we have fruit and stuff in our backyard and it starts to rot or whatever, but I take a beer, like just a little bit of a beer, pour some soap in it,
Yep. Yeah.
and then they get attracted, they fall in, and there's no surface tension on the top, so they just sink.
If you
perfect.
get
Like
a shot glass and put some vinegar, like apple cider vinegar in it, and then put saran wrap on it and take a toothpick and poke holes,
Poke holes in it.
it works
They go in
very,
there.
very well. They get in
Soap
there
thing,
and then
man.
they can't get out.
I remember hearing
fruit
that
fly show.
they were working. I remember hearing that
Fruit fly
like as a
chips.
malaria thing, they were working on this like little automated laser that could just shoot mosquitoes out of the sky.
So awesome.
And so
I
you
would
get
pay
that for
$1
free.
million.
but
Yeah, I
just
need
like
that in my brewery.
just like this little rotating turret that's just like it's like Luke and the fucking Millennium Falcon just jet.
You get a fruit fly come across your eyes. Oh!
Like
I can see better now. It's like LASIK.
I'd be excited to get fruit flies. I'm like, we have some flies. Break out the lasers.
Get the front.
Make it a game, like fuck axe throwing, like it's a new game in tasting rooms. Like,
Mounted on a little quadcopter.
shooting-
And just the
My
fly
owner wanted to
destroyer.
do that, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want any part of that. That sounds dangerous.
oh man, those people like I've done it, and I was like, nah, this is not fun. Axe throwing. You ever thrown an axe?
No,
Yeah.
At a
I saw
target?
Jason.
I'm pretty
Momoa
good
do
at it,
Seems
actually.
like he got it.
So, Greg, what's up next? Saison Vert?
Yeah, I got another bottle from Upright Brewing, and it's Saison Vert. And it is I think it's pretty much a classic Saison with mixed ferment and nuanced nose and
This is
layered
made with
complexity.
Black limes.
Yeah, it's,
I don't know what black limes are. I've never heard of black limes.
I feel like I looked this up recently, but I didn't absorb the information.
I looked it up too, and ooh, there's a little bit of rust on the top glass. That's not a good sign.
Well,
At least it's fresh.
is it an oxygen cap by any chance?
No.
Oh.
I thought black limes were like a fermented dried lime thing.
Well, let's learn together.
Yeah, fucking who did I think Beechwood Blendery did one with black limes.
Oh yeah, I think was that the Highland Park collab?
yeah,
too?
it was.
They're key limes, or they're similar to key limes, but they're boiled and in salt water and dried in the sun. So it's like a
Oh, interesting.
it's like
like
a
a spice.
salted
Oh,
lime
look at that. Someone-
raisin.
those look gross.
Yeah, there's
No
a
thanks.
picture in the chat Oh God!
There's one in half, and it looks like the
Death.
devil.
It looks like a lime that's rotten. That's all it looks like.
It's a lime raisin.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Okay, well, let's try
Sure.
this beer now.
Well, I
It's got
mean,
rotten
black
limes in it.
limes.
I'm not biased one bit.
The beer's not black at all. Obviously, it's a nice golden color.
It smells
a little
like
bit
a
hazy.
It smells like a margarita.
Oh,
It does have a margarita character to it.
Like it has a salinity on the nose and a lime character that kind of gives it a margarita profile.
So that Brett character
Oh,
in
yeah.
this is exactly what I love in a Brett character.
Yep.
Yeah,
Has that Brett bitterness to it.
and
It's dry.
there is a bit of lime flavor, but it's subtle. Lime. I have a really hard time with lime beers. It tends to just take over any beer
Especially
that
in like
it's
a
ever
Goza
in.
or whatever.
Yeah.
In anything, right?
Here's
It's just
our
Lime
Lime
zest is
goes
potent.
yeah. It just I've very rarely had lime in beer where there was enough that you could detect it, but it didn't just completely take over. But
Absolutely.
this seems to pull it off.
Yeah, it's just in the finish.
Maybe it's because they use
Yeah.
these dead limes.
Yeah, it's like the black limes. They add like more of like that fruity character you would get from a lime, and not necessarily like a overwhelming lime character,
Yeah.
like squeezing a lime into your drink.
It's more of
kinda
a
thing.
spice than a
Oh yeah.
than a
I
fruit.
think that's a good call.
Yeah.
We have a kettle sour on tap. It's a kettle soured wit, and I decided to do like a lime zest version of it. I put a lot of lime zest and a little bit of vanilla as well, and it tastes like Sprite. It's amazing.
Nice.
It's a Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
Tickle your innards.
tickle your innards. This beer's good. I like it. It's nicely
This
carved
is
too.
nice.
It's
way more
that
carbs
is
than the last one.
refreshing. Like
The head looks good too.
Could use just a pinch of acidity to it, like just a little bit lower pH,
Yeah,
just to brighten it up a little bit. But other than that,
It kind of smells dirty to me too, like earthy, dirty kind
I
of
think that's probably the lime.
fruity thing. I mean,
It's
I
that
kind of
rotten
like
lime.
it. It's,
Probably the rotten
it's-
limes in there.
as it warms up, it's like I definitely get more of like I get the Brett and a little bit of like a floral kind of,
It's
Yeah.
kind of like,
I wanna say, like-
bathroom salt.
or like plumeria almost.
Plumeria.
Like
That's a really good call. Yeah,
yeah.
Plumeria.
Plumeria is super like aromatic flower,
Yeah.
like a Hawaiian, like make lays out of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the Brett is really nice in there.
Yeah.
Super kind of barnyard.
just a little bit of funk. Like Upright makes really good, just kind of farmhouse beer. Honestly, the really sour, really fruity one is kind of the last beer is a bit out of their normal fashion.
Yeah.
Probably just because that's what the kids
yeah,
want.
I think Garrett Oliver would look at this head and say it's an expensive beer.
I'm not
You seen that?
Is it
No.
is it chunky? Is the head
It's chunky. It's where it's rocky with
Rocky.
small and big bubbles.
small bubbles so you know it's good?
I think his logic behind that. Have you seen that video where he tastes like?
No.
I think it's like 6 beers.
Epicurious does a whole thing where it's like
Wow.
experts do cheap stuff versus
There was one
expensive
for
stuff.
pickles.
Yeah.
I watched a cheese one, but they
Yeah.
had Garrett Oliver on there doing beer, and
He basically said if you look at a beer, and I think he's talking about if you drink a High Life and you see the head on it, it's going to be very small bubbles and
Yeah,
they're
very
gonna
uniform
dissolve
bubbles.
very quickly.
Yep.
And with a well-made beer or a craft beer, you'll see like small bubbles on the bottom and then on the top,
Variation.
like it'll be kind of rocky.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
he's referring to how bread looks. So if you slice Wonder Bread, it's
like a very tight
it's like got
structure.
a cellulose structure, but it's
Yeah.
very tight. Where if you slice like
A ciabatta.
Dave's Killer Bread or something, I don't know, it's got alternating big and small bubbles. And
Interesting.
that's how you know it's quality.
that it's
Artisan.
made by the
That's a-
hardworking indigenous peoples of wherever.
That's a
Artisan anal.
But like any sour beer, like it's so hard to get that head retention, that rocky
Oh,
head.
for
Like
sure.
it's impossible. And so, is it a poorly made or inferior beer because
But do you have
inherently in the style?
Are your
you
bubbles uniform? Because if they are, it's shitty beer.
I think
I wanted to
I
punch
think
my fucking
it's an
TV when I
indicator.
watched that.
No, I think it's in context. Like, of course, with sour beer, he knows. Like,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to get that big rocky head off of like a highly acidic beer. But
maybe for like a pilsner, like yeah, totally.
Pilsner, an IPA, a stout, and if you watch the video, he's like has got that head, and you could tell. It's like, yeah, I could see the difference there a little bit. I know. I see
He's
what you're
Garrett
saying.
Oliver. He wrote the Oxford Companion to Beer. Like I would trust his opinion slightly above. I think he's a beer. He's one person who I would call a beer expert.
He's definitely a beer expert.
Yeah,
Like,
I do like his opinion on hazy beer and social media. I think that's a pretty good one.
What's that?
I
He's
can,
like,
I can guess
hazy
what it is.
IPA only exists because
Of internet.
because of the internet and
Instagram.
social media and Instagram.
On that video, he does a hazy too. Like they.
Oh, does he?
Like the category is IPA, and I think it's
He's
out
like,
of a
oh
can
yes,
too.
this is very indicative
Yeah.
of a modern style IPA.
Modern. It's
That's
very
it.
fruity. It's low bitterness.
This is how Garrett Oliver talks.
Professional about it. He's
Right.
not trying to like hate on the style. And even on the macro, which are clearly macro beers that he's trying, he's like, this could pair well with this, but this would be a much better beer to pair with. Like
He's
this
like, it's
'cause
not a
more
bad beer.
complex.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was a good video. I ran on the treadmill watching it, and I felt like I didn't run. I was just like so into the video
Really?
that the run just kind of didn't happen. It was great.
I like kind of reminds me of Neil deGrasse Tyson, but like in a bad way.
Oh man, Garrett Oliver's dope.
Yeah, he's a very
I like
charming
him.
guy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah, I've
sure
met him
he's
in person a
nice.
couple times.
Yeah,
He's
he's
super
nice if
nice.
we met him.
Even at GABF, he's like, hey, I'm like here from Orange Coast Mag, and he's like, hey, let's go over here and chat. And then fucking Vinny Schillerzo came over and chatted with us too. And
If I want
I took a photo of it.
Yeah, it
minor
was
beer
dope.
celebrity to mansplain shit to me, I'll just have the Dogfish Head guy do it because he sounds like
he wasn't speaking to beer people though in that video. He was
Yeah, I
speaking
know.
to Epicurious who
know.
aren't beer people. I think he explained things very well.
Jason's just being a hater.
I just didn't care. I didn't care for it. The bubbles thing still pissed me off. The
I
uniform
thought the bubbles thing made sense.
Nope, dumb.
I'm gonna do that taste test for you, and then you can tell just visually.
You could
Which beer is
You
cheaper?
find me a beer with some little bubbles and a beer with some chunky
I
bubbles.
consider you a macro beer expert.
I literally, and also he stole my fucking bit. And that also, I didn't love that part as well. As someone who has a YouTube channel where I drink cheap
Dedicated
lagers,
to cheap lagers, yeah.
him drinking cheap lagers really fucking took the shine off my whole thing.
Well, this is a Pilsner, and I'm going to try this Pilsner over here. Pilsner.
So,
Hey, have you guys ever had a beer from Estonia before?
I have not.
I've heard. What's that one? That's
This is probably the one.
what's the name of it?
This is 10 Apple Stout.
10 Apple Stout.
It's from
Oh yeah, Pujola.
Pujola.
Isn't that
Pujola.
how Thai?
Yeah, they were on the
Here's their
Brewing
name.
Network. They seem like nice guys.
Oh, right.
Their name on the logo is literally like a centimeter. That's it. Pujola.
Must be nice to not have those crazy types of TTB regulations.
When you told us you were bringing this beer, I thought this was just like some crazy wacky beer you
No,
found
this is legit whale
on
from
a,
Estonia.
on a dusty shelf at
How did you get this
Totes
beer?
Wine.
From Windsor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just got it in fresh.
Oh, nice.
I guess the Shelton brothers were like, fuck, you got to get this
So,
goddamn Estonia beer,
It's
bro.
definitely not a 750 ml bottle.
And this wax is more like a vinyl.
Sorry about that. What is that? A 375?
It has
Yeah.
It's a beer to celebrate the apple.
Yeah, this is made with 5 varieties of apple from
says 10.
Denmark and 5 from Estonia, treated in 10 different ways, and
Wow.
then aged in Calvados barrel.
And it's a collaboration with Tool.
I've always liked the idea of doing like apple beers, but with such the negative connotation with like the off flavor acetaldehyde, I'm always like, people are gonna be like, oh, it's just acetaldehyde.
Yep.
So I've always been afraid.
It's like adding butter to your beer. It's like,
Right.
why would I do that? I mean, it's an off flavor,
Yeah.
but
Do
in
a
context, again, it could be a good thing.
Do a
maybe
clone
not
of Red's
butter,
apple
but
ale.
And I don't know if you guys know what a Calvados barrel is. It's a apple brandy choke.
I did not know that, Greg.
Yeah.
Thank you. TIL.
On the nose. I get more coconut than apple.
This
Yeah.
smells fantastic on the nose. This smells like dusty cocoa. This is the
It's got that mound smell to it.
Yeah.
The chocolate.
Right. A little coconut
The
in
chocolate
there.
coconut. Yeah.
I get some booze.
I don't get booze in the nose at all. And this is 12%.
Yeah.
The apple brandy became hype just because Cigar City did a random one that was rare one time, and so all of a sudden everyone's like, "We do apple brandy now. That's a thing now."
You know, was it Prairie has all those apple brandy barrels that everyone's going nuts for.
This is really nice.
Oh, wow.
It's very like truffle.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a smoke on the finish.
Yeah.
Like it's like smoke and chocolate are the big flavors I'm getting out of this one.
Yeah, some nuttiness.
I'd like to know how these apples were treated in 10 different ways. Like,
One of them,
One was yelled at.
Yeah.
One was
one went on a vacation to Hawaii.
one listened to nothing but classical music.
one nothing but affliction.
one Wu-Tang. One of them was left out in the sun.
Like, I don't know how the apples affect this beer.
I'm not getting an apple character out of it at all.
That's what I expected
Even
from it.
like the brandy, I was expecting more of like a fruity kind of like brandy thing, but it's just kind of like imperial stout.
It's stout with a coconut mounds character to
Yeah.
it. Like that's the overall impression I'm getting.
As far as imperial stouts go, I think it's really good. Like,
It doesn't drink like 12%.
It's got a hint of oxidation on there. It does not drink like 12%. You're right. On the
dates
flavor,
on it.
I think it's got
It's
like
actually
just a little
dated.
bit of papery thing happening, but
No.
I mean, it's not anything bad. But the apples, I just don't know.
Yeah, where it falls in.
I feel like I want to try this without the apples and see if it was a total waste of time to even fuck with the apples. Like
I don't know
why?
if it's just my perception, but like on the aroma, like I get that like mealy red apple thing a little bit, but it's kind of like tied in with that mounds.
Is it
like
just because
coconut?
you're trying to
Yeah.
look for apple, or you
And I'm
actually
like perceiving that
I
acetaldehyde
shouldn't have said
thing.
coconut. Yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to. At least I'm honest with myself with whether I'm biased in my perception or not. So
I just
And the Calvados barrels, I think, is what shines through the most out of this whole thing. Not actual fleshy fruit. And
I
maybe they fermented. Maybe they blended it with apple cider must or something like unfermented apple juice.
I don't know. That's
We don't know.
Good
Estonia,
question.
get back to us.
the whole
Whatever.
country.
Come at me,
Tell
Estonia.
us. Tell us, Estonia. Maybe they have a YouTube channel.
So you said they were on the Brewing Network,
yeah,
Chris?
yeah.
Like recently?
Brother.
I think like a year ago
Oh,
or
okay.
so. So
Huh.
it was a, they have good episodes and kind of whatever episodes, but the guy seemed super nice and they had him in studio. He had a bunch of beers. They seemed overall pretty impressed with the beers and
Interesting.
so that's the only reason why I've heard of them.
I would say this is a solid barrel-aged stout, and if I didn't go in with any expectation of apple, I wouldn't really have much
Yeah.
to pick about it. It's just kind of like apple. Well, there's no apple on here.
Yeah.
None at all.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, like, what's the contribution? And it was just a big waste of time to use apples when you just made a really
Imperial
good
stout.
imperial stout.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's good for marketing and hype. It's made
Well,
with apples,
whatever.
but
It made me
I don't
buy
know,
it.
maybe they just threw like it's a 500-gallon batch of beer and they're like, here's 10 apples.
yeah,
Made
buddy.
with, it's literal.
Yeah,
made
they-
with
they
10
say
apple.
And one apple from each varietal. They went down to the market, just grabbed 10 apples, and there you go.
This little apple had roast beef. This little apple had none.
You know, I just recently realized that when they say this little piggy went to market, it meant that they were slaughtered for sale and not that they went down to the market.
Really?
Okay.
Like, yeah, I thought it was like the piggy was going down to go do some shopping.
But why did the piggy have roast beef?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he got it from the market.
All right.
There you go. You'll like this meme.
Piglet puzzle. Oh, God.
I'm going to share that in the chat. I'll Google it.
Why?
It's a good one. That's why.
Aw, that's not nice.
Good
I
stuff.
laughed.
It's
My wife
funny.
didn't think it was that funny, but her dad was crying laughing.
That seems like a joke that would really go over with a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a
There
dad.
you go.
I loved it.
Yeah, so like I said, this beer I think is it was
good.
great. It was a great beer, and but
I bet.
Discover
Apples
what's
why?
on your shelf, people.
why
Yeah.
apple?
I mean, to be honest, my hit rate with two is pretty low.
Yeah, that's true.
So good. I'm glad I had a good one.
Yeah, Estonia. First beer I've ever had from Estonia.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for joining us once
Hey,
again.
how do you find Trustworthy online?
You can find us at trustworthybrewingco.com. You can find us at Trustworthy Brewing Co. on Instagram and the Twitter, and Trustworthy Brewing Co. on the Facebook. I don't think anyone actually uses our Twitter. We're just pretty active on
Okay.
Facebook and
I'm gonna
and
tweet you right
Instagram,
now.
So yeah, go for it. No one's
If,
going
if
to
you
answer.
have a alt-right content, that'll really go over on Twitter.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
If you want to find Four Brewers online, we are at fourbrewers.com. If you want to give us money, you can go to supporttheshitoutofit.com. We are at Four Brewers Show on Twitter. at 4Brewers on the Instagrams. If you want to hang out with us live, you can go to our website at 4brewers.com/live or go to our Twitch channel and follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/4brewers. Leave only positive 5-star reviews on iTunes and don't say anything bad about our show ever. And give us a star on Overcast. And if you have anything to say, any questions, you want to send us beer, anything at all, hit us up at feedback@4brewers.com and brew the shit out of it.